Good evening, y'all. It's 7 p.m. and welcome to the podcast where we talk moms, the ones who are currently huddled up with a bottle of wine and holding a crossword.
My name is Mary Kichkowski, and I'm joined with my exceptionally tremendous co-host, Brianna Perry. You're listening to Helicopter Moms. What did they do this time?
Welcome back. Last week we discussed Snapchat and how mothers can now track their children via modern technology.
I love 2017. On this week's episode, we will be talking measles, mumps, and the absolutely ludicrous anti-vaccination campaign.
Vaccines. Those have been around for more than 200 years? I believe smallpox was the first treated, and the numbers of diseases eradicated have grown since.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I find so crazy, that people are still against it. Vaccines have done such amazing things. Smallpox, hookworm, and even malaria have been eradicated. I just don't understand the thought process of being anti-vax.
Well, some people believe that vaccinations will have side effects on their children. One of the most prominent being that vaccinations cause autism.
Okay, I suppose. But I've read that the Dr. Andrew Jeremy Wakefield that wrote on the correlation between autism and vaccinations lost his medical license. His data was fraudulent. Fake news.
Others choose not to get vaccinations for personal beliefs, saying that not vaccinating their children will not matter in the end because they are mandatory for almost everyone in the States. Of course, excluding those with their religious and personal beliefs.
Beside the point, my son's friend Tyler, he's allergic to eggs, which means he can't get the MMR vaccine for mumps, measles, and rubella. AKA, the poor kid is so vulnerable to these deadly diseases. And when someone isn't vaccinated, just one measly kid, they can be a carrier of the disease. If some hella mom doesn't want to vaccinate because her little Tommy's God doesn't believe in changing the human form, another kid should not be a victim of that.
These anti-vaxxers think that because the vaccines are for diseases that are not around, their baby can't possibly contract it. So, what's the point? Are there ways to combat this?
If vaccines weren't so successful, people wouldn't disregard them like that. Yeah, the disease is rare, but it's still around, and until it is 100% eradicated, potential exposure and spreading of the disease is still possible and is a risk.
What vaccines are mandatory today in the US? Don't kids need to be vaccinated for school?
That's the thing. Vaccines like MMR and polio are required by the state and school system, but that is easily bypassed for religious and or philosophical reasons. All 50 states technically require these vaccinations, but 2 allow for exceptions by religious reasons and 20 for philosophical.
So, what you're saying is that if a parent does not believe their child should be vaccinated because they are against it or it goes against their religion, that is okay? They can have their child be susceptible to diseases that could well be prevented? Well, what's the point? Contamination seems unavoidable with these standards.
Exactly, and it's causing repercussions. Did you see the 60 Minutes on the epidemic sweeping the nation?
Of course, just this year, Arkansas saw the largest outbreak of mumps in 22 years. In 2016, there was an epidemic of whooping cough in California. Over 3,500 people with the disease that California made mandatory to get vaccinated by all. In 2014, there were 667 reported cases of measles in the U.S. Measles. 383 of these cases were among unvaccinated Amish in Ohio. The others were cases brought back from the Philippines. People who bring these diseases from other countries are a part of this problem.
Mind you, it is 2017. This should not be happening.
Exactly. This outbreak of measles correlates to another study done by Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard Medical School. About 60% of all measles cases in the U.S. are due to travel outside the U.S. Researchers found that 53% of eligible travelers in the U.S. from 2009 to 2014 didn't receive the measles vaccine. And here's the kick. About half refused the recommended vaccine because they weren't worried.
Oh, they weren't worried about death or bringing back diseases to the country. We have cars driving themselves, people out in space, and the ability to eradicate diseases. Because of our advancements, it is our job to take advantage of our privilege and vaccinate for the sake of those less fortunate that don't have access to these medical miracles.
Oh my lord, with an E, of course. And did you see the segment on that Hella Mom from California? She's an anti-vaxxer. She lost both of her children to this hot topic of discussion.
I know, and this was recent. I think only the daughter died, though. She was the one with measles. Her measles led to pneumonia, a common thread.
There's even a vax for pneumonia. What is she doing?
And this happened at Disneyland, supposedly the happiest place on earth. 129 people, which is considered an epidemic, were reported having contracted the measles on March 6, 2015.
And can you believe this outbreak spurred the California state government to make it a law that every child enrolled in public and private school must have all their vaccines in order to attend? That is, unless the child has a serious medical condition, which they can't. The vaccine epidemic made it to the state level of importance, so there's obviously a reason why it's necessary.
I know, and just this year on July 6th, her son Caleb of Dartmouth College got the mumps and was quarantined. His condition hasn't been publicized, but neither has a funeral.
We have mumps in the state. No one is safe from the wrongdoings of anti vaxxers. I'm just shocked that we're still having epidemics for diseases which can be controlled and weakened by current technology. Yet, people are not utilizing these advancements.
I mean, haven't they declared some diseases as wiped out because of vaccines?
Yes, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, rubella was eradicated in 2015 and measles in 2016. But with so many recent epidemics, I don't think that these will stay eliminated for long. If we continue giving the choice for vaccination, allowing people to travel without being treated for diseases that are present outside the country is putting the public health at risk. Anti vaxxers are being inconsiderate to the health of others.
Well, I don't think we will ever reach a point where all diseases are completely wiped out from the United States, never mind the world.
Yeah, I understand. We still hear of cluster disease outbreaks, and this can be contributed to a few people with legitimate reasons that they're not able to get the vaccination. For those who choose not to get the vaccine, they're just putting the public health at risk.
Well, I think one solution to this problem would be to follow in the footsteps of California. All states should make vaccines mandatory for children in public and private schools. It shouldn't have to take another epidemic for this law to be enacted elsewhere.
I couldn't agree more. I even think this should just go beyond the level of school, but to all people. People who utilize the privileges of the public health system should have to get their shots if they wish to get treatment. With this sort of herd immunization among people, the US could be able to keep more of these diseases suppressed.
Having that would also help with the travelers who do not get immunized and bring back these diseases to the US. If people who travel out of the country had to get their vaccines, we could stop the transmission of diseases we have already rid of.
Not only would this help the public health nationally, but internationally. But do you think this would really get all the anti vaxxers concede, or will they just call these laws unconstitutional? I mean, there are many problems with the anti vaxxers in California today. 10% of children in schools have notes saying that they are too frail to be treated with vaccinations, which is far beyond projected numbers. Some claim anti vax doctors are letting these people slide by, finding loopholes in the system. Robert Sears is one medical doctor who has done this.
Oh, yes, I read an article from the Los Angeles Times stating that there was a, a company providing $200 exemption fees on Facebook. I mean, I think that if we cannot put laws on these anti vaxxers, we should appeal to their emotions. A recent study from the University of Illinois studied three control groups of anti vaxxers. One group was provided with scientific literature that refuted common vaccination myths. The second was given various materials highlighting the risks associated with these three vaccine preventable diseases measles, mumps, and rubella. These included stories from parents whose children had suffered such diseases, images of infants with the infection, and information regarding the potential consequences of failing to vaccinate. The final group was a control that was given unrelated reading material. They found that the first group grew even stronger in regards to their anti vax belief, while the second group swayed away from those beliefs entirely.
So, you're saying that if we use the fear of catching these diseases, people are more likely to be pro vaccine?
Yes, as scary as it sounds, it seems that fear of the diseases motivates the people. I think that providing people who enter doctors' offices with this type of evidence will help to sway these opinions.
Even if laws and more information is provided on these diseases, there will always be those skeptics who will be against vaccines. The fact is inevitable, but if laws are forced more upon the population of people that are able to get vaccinated and choose not to, we could lead closer to deshambling the actions of anti vaxxers.
As we come closer to disassembling these lies, we will be closer to ridding the world of helicopter moms. Well, that ends our segment today on anti vaxxers.
Thanks for joining us.